During a routine Galactic Federation assessment, a human xenobiologist accidentally triggers an interstellar incident by revealing Earth's deadliest creatures, leading to both diplomatic chaos and unexpected alliances, all starting with a simple comment about a cone snail. The moment I mentioned Earth's cone snails to the Galactic Federation's Defense Council, I knew I'd either made the biggest diplomatic blunder of my career or accidentally stumbled onto something brilliant. Watching the Xeraxian delegate's crystalline form fracture with what I assumed was either laughter or outrage, I strongly suspected it was the former. "You do realize," I whispered to Dr. Liv Harrison beside me, "that I probably just turned our first major Federation assessment into an interstellar incident?" "What was your first clue, Dr. Reyes?" Liv muttered back, her dark eyes fixed on the increasingly agitated alien delegate. "The way Ambassador Catrix's scales turned ultraviolet? Or how the Medusan representative just sprouted 3 new defense tentacles?" I, Dr. Nina Reyes, Earth's lead xenobiologist to the Galactic Federation, had been doing so well at keeping quiet during the species' defenses for 6 excruciating hours. We'd endured presentations from 17 different advanced civilizations about their latest developments in defensive capability. The Andromedans had shown off their quantum phase shields. The Proxima Centaurians had demonstrated their psychic barrier technology. And now the Xeraxians were wrapping up their rather smug presentation about their latest breakthrough in synthetic bioweapons. And the Ambassador Talax concluded, their crystalline form glowing with pride. "Our new compound achieves total cellular disruption in merely 7 standard units, approximately 40 of your Earth. No other species has achieved such rapid biological efficiency." I should have kept my mouth shut. I really should have. But after watching Talax spend the last hour subtly implying that Earth was barely more advanced than space algae, something in me— "Excuse me," I said, raising my hand. "A point of clarification about your efficiency metric." The chamber fell. Humans rarely spoke during these assessments. We were still considered the Federation's equivalent of a primitive civilization that had accidentally stumbled onto faster-than-light. The fact that we'd managed to not blow ourselves up with our own technology was apparently considered our greatest achievement. Talax's crystalline form flickered with what I recognized as their species' version of condescending amusement. "Yes? Earth represents— Perhaps you need us to explain the basic principles of molecular biology again?" "That did it. Actually," I said, pulling up Earth's biological database on my tab. "I was wondering why we're supposed to be impressed by a 40-minute mortality rate when Earth has dozens of naturally evolved creatures that can kill in under 5 minutes. The silence in the chamber deepened, to the point where I swear I could hear the quantum fluctuations in the artificial gravity. Ambassador Catrix's scales shifted through 7 different wavelengths of light before settling on a particularly nauseating shade of ultraviolet. High Commander Xylith of the Amaraxian Empire was just concluding their presentation on weaponized plasma fields when I made the biggest, or possibly most brilliant, diplomatic blunder in Earth's. Their iridescent tentacles rippled with pride as they displayed holographic statistics of their latest military. "As you can see, esteemed colleagues," Xylith's melodic voice echoed through the Federation's Grand Assembly, "our new quantum-enhanced plasma field can incapacitate organic matter in merely 30 standard units. What primitive species would measure as approximately 20 Earth minutes?" The assembled delegates buzzed, chirped, and resonated their approval. I caught at least 3 different species shooting what passed for sympathetic glances in our direction. After all, Earth was still considered the Federation's equivalent of a child who had found their parents' faster-than-light drive and somehow managed not to blow themselves. That's when I did it. Later, I'd blame it on the 19 straight hours of sitting through increasingly condescending presentations about advanced weapons. Or maybe it was the way Xylith's third appendage had made the universal gesture for "pat the primitive on the head" when mentioning Earth's measurement of time. "Pardon me, High Commander," I said, rising from my seat. "A question about your efficiency metric?" The chamber fell silent. Humans rarely spoke during these sessions. We were still considered the galactic equivalent of teenagers trying to sit at the adults. Xylith's tentacles froze mid-ripple. "Yes." "Earth representative, perhaps you require a simplified explanation of temporal measure." That did it. 15 years of diplomatic training evaporated like water on a plasma field. I said, pulling up Earth's biological database. I was wondering why we're supposed to be impressed by a 20-minute incapacitation rate when Earth has snails that can kill in under 5 minutes. The silence in the chamber deepened to the point where I could hear the quantum fluctuations in the artificial gravity field. The Medusan ambassador's defensive tendrils tied themselves into 3 different species. Universal translators simultaneously requested clarification of the word snail. A mollusk? Ambassador Catrix's crystalline form developed hairline fractures as they spoke. You claim a primitive gastropod surpasses our most advanced weapons technology? Oh, the cone snail isn't even our deadliest creature, I continued, warming to my topic.
They have jellyfish that can stop a heart in 3.
The venom contains multiple toxins that attack the cardiac system, nervous system, and cellular structure simultaneously. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Proximan delegation's psychic dampening field accidentally activated, turning their entire section temporarily non-useful. The Xeraxian representatives' bioluminescent patterns were flashing colors that probably translated to Error 404. Comprehension not found. This is outrageous. Xylith's tentacles had shifted to ultraviolet, a clear sign of distress. If Earth has been concealing such biological capability— Concealing? I laughed. We have them in public aquariums. Children take field trips to see them. Well, from behind very thick safety glass of— That was apparently the wrong thing to say. 6 different species emergency containment protocols activated simultaneously. The Federation Security Council representatives were having what appeared to be a collective existential crisis. Order! Grand Arbiter Vex's energy form pulsed with authority, their plasma core flickering rapidly. These are unprecedented claims. Earth represents. The Federation requires immediate verification of all declared defensive capability. Of course, I agreed, trying to sound professional while watching Catrix's crystal structure develop stress patterns that probably violated several laws of physics. We'd be happy to arrange a demonstration. Though I should mention that cone snails are actually quite boring compared to some of our other wildlife. Would you like to hear about our blue-ringed octopus? The venom causes total paralysis while leaving you completely A formal demonstration will suffice. Vex interrupted, their plasma core now strobing in what I hoped was just intense interest, rather than the prelude to an interstellar incident. The Federation will dispatch an assessment team immediately as various delegates either filed out of the chamber or were carried out by their medical teams. Dr. Liv Harrison, Earth's marine biology expert, leaned over to whisper in my ear. Valentine is going to absolutely love this. She's been trying to get Federation funding for her venomology research for years. I watched as Xylith's tentacles tied themselves into what I am pretty sure was a new mathematical impossibility. Well, she's about to get all the funding she could ever— Though maybe we should wait to tell them about the platypus. I am not sure their containment protocols can handle learning about a venomous, egg-laying mammal that looks like it was assembled from spare parts. The look Liv gave me suggested that I was enjoying this situation far too much. She was probably— Dr. Zara Valentine's laboratory for xenotoxicology looked more like a fortress than a research facility. 3 layers of quantum shielding shimmed around the building, and the security protocols would have made most military installations As I approached the entrance, I couldn't help but smile at the new addition. A holographic sign reading, "Warning, Earth's most dangerous residents. No unauthorized dimensional You are enjoying this way too much," Liv muttered as we waited for the bioscanners to clear. Me? I am not the one who added I replied, watching the scanner's purple beam trace our outlines. Besides, wait until you meet Dr. Valentine.
She makes me look positively—
As if on cue, the lab's massive doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a woman who looked more like an excited kindergarten teacher than Earth's leading expert on lethal creatures. Dr. Zara Valentine practically bounced toward us, her wild copper curls escaping from what had probably started as a neat Nina! Liv! She beamed, her dark eyes sparkling with an enthusiasm that had made at least 3 different ethics committees nervous. Is it true we're finally getting to show off my babies to the Federation? Please tell me. We're doing a full demonstration. I've got this absolutely gorgeous Australian box jellyfish that's just been dying to meet new species. Dr. Valentine, a stern voice interrupted. Ambassador Catrix emerged from the shadows, their crystalline form somehow managing to look both terrified and dignified. I am here to observe the preparation of your demonstration facilities. Zara's face lit up in a way that made me seriously reconsider letting her handle the diplomatic aspects of this situation.
Oh, wonderful.
You must be the crystalline observer.
Your species' molecular structure is fascinating. Did you know we have a sea creature that can alter its crystal formation almost as efficiently as your people? Though in the cone shell's case, it's usually to create better harpoons for its venom delivery system. Catrix's surface developed several new stress fractures. The Federation assessment team will arrive in 2 planetary rotations. We must verify your containment protocols and… Dr. Valentine, why are you looking at me like that? Zara was indeed studying Catrix, with the same expression she usually reserved for particularly interesting venomous specimen. I was just wondering, purely academically of course, how your crystalline structure would react to various neurotoxins. We've never had the opportunity to test. What Dr. Valentine means, I interrupted hastily, is that we're excited to demonstrate Earth's natural defensive capabilities in a completely safe and controlled environment. Of course, Zara agreed, though she was still eyeing Catrix's crystal lattice with scientific interest. Everything's perfectly safe. Triple containment fields, quantum-reinforced tanks, emergency neutralization protocols. We've thought of everything. Would you like to see the blue-ringed octopus enclosure first? Or maybe the stone fish tank? Oh, or we could start with the box jellyfish. Their tentacles can reach up to 3 meters, you know, and the neurotoxin. Catrix's form flickered in what I was pretty sure was panic. Perhaps we should begin with the safety protocols? Boring but sensible. Zara sighed, leading us deeper into the facility. Though you really should see the octopus. Last week, one of them figured out how to unscrew their tank lid. Took us 3 hours to catch it. And that was only because it got distracted trying to solve a puzzle cube we use for enrichment. I watched Catrix's surface develop increasingly complex stress patterns, as Zara cheerfully detailed various containment breaches and their solutions. The ambassador's normally pristine crystalline form was starting to resemble abstract art. Dr. Valentine, Catrix managed finally, their voice hitting frequencies that made the quantum shielding hum.
No!
Are you suggesting that these creatures regularly attempt to escape? Oh, constantly, Zara beamed. They're absolutely brilliant. The cone snails have developed 6 different hunting strategies just this month. And don't get me started on the octopi. Did you know they can fit through any opening larger than their beak? The size of their body is practically irrelevant. We had to completely redesign their containment system after one of them, I believe, Catrix interrupted. Their form now displaying fractal patterns I am pretty sure violated several laws of physics that I have seen enough for today. I will inform the Federation assessment team of your preparations. As Catrix made what could only be described as a dignified retreat, Liv turned to Zara with a raised eyebrow. Zara's innocent expression wouldn't have fooled a junior lab assistant. I have no idea what you mean. I was simply sharing my enthusiasm for Earth's fascinating wildlife. She paused, a mischievous glint in her eye. Though I probably should have waited to mention that the box jellyfish can still sting effectively up to several hours after death. Did you see the color they turned when I said that? I didn't even know crystalline beings could produce that shade of ultraviolet. The Federation assessment team arrived in what could only be described as a mobile fortress. Their ship bristled with enough containment technology to quarantine a small sun, and each member wore personal shield generators that hummed with enough power to deflect an asteroid. Welcome to Earth's Institute of Xenotoxicology, Dr. Valentine announced cheerfully, apparently oblivious to the fact that half the assessment team was hovering near the emergency teleporters. We've prepared a comprehensive demonstration of our planet's natural defensive capabilities. Shall we begin with something simple? Grand Arbiter Vex's plasma core pulsed with what I hoped was agreement. Behind them, Ambassador Catrix's crystalline form had already developed several new stress patterns, and they'd only been on Earth for 5 minutes. This, Zara said, gesturing to a seemingly innocent tank of water, is Chironex fleckeri, better known as the Australian box jellyfish. Notice the elegant tentacles, up to 3 meters long, each containing millions of microscopic harpoons loaded with venom. The assessment team collectively took 3 steps back. The Proximon scientists' protective field suddenly doubled in strength. The fascinating thing about their venom, Zara continued, her eyes gleaming with the special enthusiasm she reserved for discussing lethal creatures, is its multiple attack vectors. It simultaneously disrupts cardiac function, cellular integrity, and neural transmission. Death can occur in under 3 minutes. We've had to design special containment fields just to study them, as their tentacles can still deliver a fatal sting hours after death. The Xeraxian medical officer's bioluminescent patterns were now flashing what their translator rendered as error. Biological improbability detected. But that's boring, Zara waved dismissively. Let's move on to something more interesting. This beautiful creature is a blue-ringed octopus. Aren't those rings lovely? The brighter they glow, the more agitated the octopus becomes. Their venom causes total paralysis, while leaving you completely conscious. Tea here is no antidote, but if we can get you on artificial respiration quickly enough. I watched as Catrix's surface developed fractal patterns that probably violated several laws of physics. The Medusan observer's defensive tentacles had tied themselves into what appeared to be a new form of geometric impossibility. And here, Zara said, approaching a heavily fortified tank, is what you've all been waiting for. Conus geographus, the geography cone snail. Notice the sophisticated harpoon delivery system. Would you like to see a demonstration of its hunting capabilities? Perhaps. Grand Arbiter Vex managed, their plasma core flickering rapidly. A simulation would suffice? Oh, don't worry, Zara assured them, already preparing the demonstration chamber. We've developed synthetic prey specifically for this purpose. The sensors will give us real-time data on toxin delivery and neural disruption. Though I should mention that in actual practice, the snail is even more efficient than what we're about to see. The assessment team watched in horrified fascination as the cone snail launched its venomous harpoon. The synthetic prey's sensor readings spiked dramatically before flattering completely. Total systemic failure in just under 4 minutes. Remarkable efficiency, isn't it? Zara beamed. And this is just one species. We haven't even gotten to the stonefish or the inland taipan. She was interrupted by a sudden commotion near the octopus tank. One of the Proximon scientists had apparently leaned too close to study the containment field structure. The octopus, seeing an opportunity for enrichment activities, had launched itself at the transparent barrier, its rings glowing brilliantly. The resulting panic triggered 3 different species emergency evacuation protocols simultaneously. The Medusan observer's tentacles achieved a shape that topologists would be studying for years. Catrix's form briefly achieved perfect transparency before resolving into what looked like a crystalline representation of existential dread. Oh dear, Zara said, though her expression suggested this was exactly the reaction she'd been hoping for. Perhaps we should take a break before moving on to the demonstration of our arachnid collection. I have this lovely Australian funnel web spider. That won't be necessary. Grand Arbiter Vex's voice hit frequencies that made the quantum shielding vibrate. We have seen sufficient evidence of Earth's natural defensive capability. As the assessment team made what they probably thought was a dignified retreat, but looked more like a carefully controlled panic, I heard one of them muttering something their translator rendered as Death World. Over and over. Well, Zara said, watching them practically run to their ship, I didn't even get to show them my favorite part of the collection. Do you think they'd come back if I promised to demonstrate how platypus venom causes pain so severe that morphine does? The look Liv and I exchanged suggested that might not be the best idea, though watching Catrix try to process the concept of a venomous egg-laying mammal with a duckbill would have been entertaining. The Federation's Emergency Council convened 3 days later, which several species noted was the fastest they'd ever managed to schedule an emergency session. The Grand Assembly chamber looked markedly different, most notably because half the delegates had installed additional containment fields around their sections, and the other half had moved their seats significantly farther from Earth's delegation. Only the toxicarns, a species whose entire evolutionary history involved being poisonous to literally everything else in the known galaxy, remained unfazed. If anything, their representatives seemed downright impressed. Grand Arbiter Vex's plasma core pulsed at their most formal frequency. In light of recent revelations, the Federation Council has undertaken a comprehensive review of Earth's classification status. Their energy form flickered in what I recognized as barely contained astonishment. The findings are unprecedented. Ambassador Catrix, whose crystalline form still hadn't fully recovered its normal lattice structure, rose to address the chamber. The assessment committee acknowledges that Earth's natural biological and chemical defense capabilities significantly exceed our previous understanding. They paused, their surface displaying patterns that the translator rendered as extreme diplomatic discomfort. We formally recommend reclassifying Earth as a Class A biological defense power. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of various species versions of excited murmuring. I caught at least 3 different delegations hurriedly revising what looked suspiciously like military alliance proposals. Furthermore, Vex continued, their plasma core strobing with what I hoped was enthusiasm rather than existential dread. The Council proposes establishing a new classification category, specifically for Earth. Class X. Designation: Evolutionary Apex Predator Ecosystem. Dr. Valentine, who had somehow convinced the Council to let her attend as Earth's biological defense expert, was practically vibrating with joy. She'd spent the last 3 days sending detailed reports about Earth's wildlife to every species that would listen. I was pretty sure several of them hadn't slept since. We would also like to propose, the Proximan delegate added, their psychic dampening field flickering nervously, a modification to standard first contact protocols. Specifically, we recommend adding a mandatory briefing about Earth's indigenous life forms before any diplomatic visits. Oh, that's wonderful, Zara chimed in cheerfully. I've already prepared several presentations. Would you like to start with the inland taipan? 1 bite contains enough venom to kill over 100 people. Or perhaps you'd prefer something more exotic, like the Portuguese man-o'-war. Technically, it's not even a single organism. It's a colony of... The standard briefing package will suffice, Vex interrupted hastily, their plasma core showing distinct stress patterns. That's when things got really interesting. The Medusan delegation, still slightly embarrassed about their observer's role in the octopus incident, made an unexpected proposal. We wish to establish a military alliance with Earth, their representative announced, bioluminescent patterns flashing what my translator indicated was urgent sincerity. Any species capable of evolving alongside such creatures must have unparalleled defensive capabilities. This started a cascade of similar requests. Suddenly, every species in the chamber seemed to have a pressing need to establish closer ties with Earth. Trade agreements were proposed, research collaborations were suggested, and the Toxicarns even offered to share their ancient recipes for venomous cuisine, which I am told is quite the honor. Through it all, Zara kept adding helpful comments like, "Oh, if you think the cone snail is impressive, wait until I tell you about our platypus. It's one of the few mammals that can produce venom, and the pain is so severe that conventional painkillers don't even..." The session had to be recessed again after that. Apparently, several species needed time to process the concept of a venomous, egg-laying mammal that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts during an evolutionary clearance sale. Later, in the diplomatic lounge, I found Catrix sitting alone, their surface displaying a complex pattern that their translator couldn't quite interpret. They were staring into what I assumed was their species' version of a strong drink. "You know," they said as I approached, "we spent centuries developing our biochemical capabilities. Our finest scientists dedicated their lives to creating the perfect weapons. And all this time, your planet was just naturally like this? If it helps," I offered. "Most humans are just as terrified of these creatures as you are. We just got used to living on a planet where everything is trying to kill us." Catrix's surface shifted to a color I'd never seen before. That does not help at all. Within weeks of the infamous cone snail demonstration, Earth had become the galaxy's hottest topic in evolutionary biology. Dr. Valentine's laboratory, now officially renamed the Interstellar Institute of Comparative Toxicology, was flooded with research requests from across 17 sectors. "They've approved my proposal for a cross-species venom research center," Zara announced one morning, practically dancing around her newly expanded laboratory complex. 3 different alien species had contributed cutting-edge containment technology, apparently deciding that keeping Earth's wildlife securely contained was in everyone's best interest. The toxicarns have offered to fund an entire wing dedicated to studying cone snail venom synthesis, she continued, her eyes sparkling with the kind of enthusiasm that still made most ethics committees nervous. And the Medusans want to collaborate on box jellyfish research. Can you believe it? Finally, someone who appreciates my babies. I watched as her latest research assistant, a crystalline being from Catrix's species, developed several new stress fractures, while observing a blue-ringed octopus solve increasingly complex puzzle boxes. The octopus, for its part, seemed more interested in figuring out how to unscrew its new quantum-locked tank lid. The Federation had established new protocols for visiting Earth. All diplomatic vessels were now required to have triple-layered containment fields, and every visitor had to sign what became known as the "Yes, I understand that Earth is trying to kill me" waiver. The document had grown to 37 pages after someone mentioned that even some of our plants were toxic. But the real paradigm shift came during the first Interstellar Defense Summit. I watched in barely concealed amusement as Admiral Zixar of the Amaraxian Fleet gave a presentation on their latest battleship design. As you can see, they indicated with 4 of their tentacles, we've incorporated biological containment protocols inspired by Earth's cone snail handling procedures into our standard defense systems. Though I must admit, we're still struggling to comprehend how humans developed space travel while living on a planet where even the small aquatic mollusks are deadly weapons. The Proximan delegation, who had been quietly obsessing over platypus venom analysis for weeks, chimed in. Our latest research suggests that living on such a high-threat world has given humans unique cognitive adaptations. Did you know they voluntarily enter bodies of water containing multiple lethal species? For recreation? Speaking of recreation, Zara interrupted, having somehow gained speaking privileges at a military conference. Wait until you hear about our box jellyfish breeding program. We've made fascinating discoveries about their venom synthesis pathways. Would anyone like to see the live demonstration? 3 different species activated their emergency teleporters before she could finish the sentence. The Valorian Empire, once the galaxy's proudest biochemical warfare developers, had undergone what their historians would later call the Great Humbling. Their entire military research division was reorganized to study Earth's wildlife. I heard they'd even started a cone snail breeding program, though they kept them in facilities with more security than most nuclear arsenals. You know what the really funny part is? Liv commented one day, watching a group of alien scientists cautiously observe a tank of sea wasps from behind multiple force fields. We haven't even told them about the inland taipan yet. Or the Brazilian wandering spider, I added. Though after the blue-ringed octopus incident, I am not sure Catrix's species can handle any more surprises. Did you see the new stress patterns they developed when Zara mentioned that some spiders can swim? That's when Dr. Valentine burst into my office, her eyes gleaming with the kind of excitement that usually preceded interstellar incidents. You'll never believe what I just found in the archives. Did you know we have a sea creature that uses a modified version of snake venom? It's called a geographic cone shell, but it's completely unrelated to our friend Conus geographus. Convergent evolution is amazing. I am adding it to tomorrow's presentation for the Zaraxian delegation. Zara, I started, but she was already gone, practically skipping down the corridor while muttering about venom delivery systems and evolutionary arms races. I made a mental note to warn the medical team to have their crystalline structure stabilizers ready. The last thing we needed was another diplomatic incident involving spontaneous crystalline fracture patterns. 6 months after the infamous cone snail incident, I found myself back in the Federation's Grand Assembly Chamber, though it looked markedly different now. Most species had installed permanent containment fields around their sections, and there was a new holographic warning sign that read, "Caution, Earth delegation present," in 17 different languages. The chamber was buzzing with excitement over the latest diplomatic development. The Valorian Empire, once the galaxy's proudest developers of biochemical weapons, had just published their first comprehensive study of Earth's marine toxins. Their lead researcher was presenting the findings, though their crystalline form showed distinct stress patterns whenever they mentioned cone snail. That's when Ambassador Catrix burst into the chamber, their surface displaying colors I'd never seen before. They keep predators in their dwellings, they announced, waving a data tablet frantically. Voluntary cohabitation with evolved killing machines? The chamber fell silent. I don't understand. Grand Arbiter Vex's plasma core pulsed in confusion. Cats. Catrix's voice hit frequencies that made the quantum shielding vibrate. Earth humans keep miniature apex predators as companions. Perfect killing machines with retractable claws, superior night vision, and highly developed hunting instincts. They allow them to sleep in their beds. I tried not to smile. They're just house cats, Ambassador. Perfectly harmless pets. Harmless? Critch's form developed new fractal patterns. Our research shows they kill for entertainment. They play with their prey. And humans consider this cute. As if on cue, Dr. Valentine entered the chamber, her latest research report in hand. Her cat, Professor Whiskers, was perched on her shoulder like a furry parrot. Catrix made a sound that their translator didn't even attempt to interpret. Oh good, you are discussing cats. Zara beamed. Did you know they're responsible for the extinction of several species? Fascinating example of efficient predators. In fact, I am preparing a presentation on their hunting behavior. 3 different species activated their emergency teleporters simultaneously. I caught Liv's eye across the chamber, and we both tried not to laugh. Because really, what better way to solidify Earth's new reputation than the revelation that humans, the crazy species from the death, don't just survive alongside deadly creatures. We invite some of them into our homes and give them silly names. These days, I notice the other species give Earth's delegation a lot more personal space. The Valorians have officially classified us as unpredictably dangerous, which I am told is actually a compliment. And Dr. Valentine, she's having the time of her life, running her new research center. Though she did promise to warn me before bringing any new, fascinating specimens to diplomatic function. As for me, I've learned an important lesson about interstellar diplomacy. Sometimes the best way to earn respect in the galaxy is to casually mention that your planet has snails that can kill. Just make sure you are ready for the consequences when nobody gets. Though I have to admit, I am looking forward to telling them about koalas. After all, who wouldn't want to learn about toxic, bad-tempered creatures that spend their lives eating poisonous leaves and somehow still survive? But maybe I'll wait until Catrix's crystalline structure fully recovers from the cat revolution.